Hi, I'm Gracie Hunt here with NFL coach Katie Sowers. I'm so excited to talk with you today. Well, I'm going to start off and hit you with a real hard question. If you could trade places with any athlete, could be a former athlete or a present athlete, who would it be and why?
It would probably have to be Megan Rapinoe, just because of her strength and courage, and the women's national team. Talk about putting women's sports on the map. That team has done it, and they continue to do it, and they prove that little boys can grow up and want to play like Megan Rapinoe, and little girls can grow up and want to, kick the ball like Alex Morgan. And so that would probably be the athlete that I choose.
So I would have chosen a really similar one. I grew up and wore number 9 in honor of Mia Hamm, and then actually got to be a ball girl when Abby Wambach was playing. And I have to say, I was a soccer player for so many years and wanted to grow up and play like her. So she's definitely one of my greatest role models.
I wanted to play as well, but I remember my mom, actually, there was a traveling team, and we were invited, my twin sister and I, to play on the traveling team. But my mom thought it was too far to drive, so she gave us she just bought jerseys for us instead, and I guess we were happy with that.
Yeah, so fun. Well, they've definitely done so much for women's sports, and so have you, Katie. And so I'm just so thankful for you taking this time. And I have to say, when we played the 49ers 2 years ago in Super Bowl 54, I was a little envious because I love women breaking glass ceilings, especially in sports. And for you to be the first female coach in that big game, was something I was definitely a little envious of. But I'm so excited to have you here with us in KC now. And you grew up in KC, so not too far from your stomping grounds. How is it being back so close to home?
It's unreal. I remember walking out onto the field when we were playing the Chiefs, and I remember thinking to myself, of course, this would be the team that we would be playing. Being a Chiefs fan, when I was younger, even though I was originally a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I even have the city of Kansas City tattooed on my arm.
I love that.
And so it was one of those moments when I walked out there, I was kind of like, oh boy, but it seemed like fate coming back home. And, a year ago, my dad passed away. And so for this timing to be, now I'm closer to home, and I get to be around my family a little bit more than I was previously. It couldn't have worked out any better.
Well, I'm so sorry for your loss, but I just have to say that, from what I've learned about you, you are such a strength for not only your family, but for everyone who looks up to you as a role model. And I know you have a twin sister, and you guys grew up playing football, and that's a little bit of where your love for the sport started. I was obviously brainwashed at a young age, born into a football-loving family. So where did your love for the game start?
I take a lot of time reflecting back on that, because my dad was never a football coach. He was a women's basketball coach. My mom was a director of nursing at a small college where I grew up. And so, thinking back, there's really one time that I think really led me to football, and that's the movie The Little Giants. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yes, I do.
But, I still remember watching those kids waiting to get their jerseys that were the Cowboys at the time. And I think that's really where my love for the Cowboys started. And they wanted to be a part of this team where all their jerseys matched, where their helmets matched, and really, the strength of how cool this team was. And, obviously, if you've seen the movie, they don't make the team, and they become their own team. And on that team was a girl, Icebox. And I remember really seeing Icebox play. I thought, well, I could play this sport. And so we'd play every day in the backyard. I remember I had this awesome tackling technique, which was it was horrible, but I would take the boys by their shirts, swing them around, throw them down. And it was just something that I looked forward to every single day. And I remember calling all the boys at Sunday dinner. We'd always have this big family Sunday dinner. But my sister and I would look forward to just writing a list of every single boy we could think of, and we'd call them one by one. Hey, can Aaron come out and play? Can Josh come out and play? And that's really how my youth and my growing up experience led to football.
That's such an incredible introduction to the game. Did your parents have any concerns about you guys getting hurt, or were they hoping that you would pursue basketball because your dad did play or was a coach at the time? What were their reaction to that?
I was blessed with parents that believed truly in unconditional love. And I do remember my mom at times, this was more as I was an adult, but thinking, we'd have these conversations, why can't you just get into golf? Why can't you just get into rowing? But there was one Christmas I'll never forget where I think I have this Christmas list, and all it said was Dallas helmet, Dallas helmet, Dallas helmet. I apologize for how much I love the Cowboys. I don't understand it, but
I just appreciate that you were a football fan. Okay, it's passionate fans that make the sport what it is.
I mean, typical young girl, right? Dallas helmet, and then there was like a Sega in there, and then. But I remember that Christmas, my dad, like I said, was a women's basketball coach at a local college, and he actually got a lot of old practice football gear from the school where he coached, and they wrapped them all up. And thinking back, they were probably the grossest, they probably smelled, but to my sister and I, it was the best Christmas gift I could have ever received, because not only was it what I loved, but it was showing that my parents, no matter what, they wanted their children to be happy.
I love that they were just so embracing of you both, your dreams, and your sister got to play for the Glory and you played for the Titans. And then when you were little, what positions did you like to play, or was it just you played a little bit of everything?
Played a little bit of everything. I remember I would always be the one that would kind of pass the ball to my sister. I played quarterback. Growing up, my sister was the receiver, also throughout high school, college. She was always, I hate to admit it, but she was always the more athletic one. But she broke records scoring points in basketball, but I broke records with assists, but I don't think anyone really cares about assists, but I did. And that meant a lot to me, just being able to grow up in a household where we could play sports together, and we went on and actually started playing for the West Michigan Mayhem. And then that's really where we first started in the Women's Football Alliance, and then came back home to Kansas City to really truly start our football career.
How was it playing in the Women's Football Alliance?
It was incredible. I mean, and when I first joined the NFL, I knew it was going to be different. First of all, the obvious gender, but then, this idea of all these women who are nurses, teachers, lawyers, doctors. They have these full-time jobs, but they don't get paid to play. They play for the pure love of the game. We actually would spend money to play the game of football. And there's something special about having a group of people, that are really going against societal norms because it's what they love. And we had a woman on our team who I think was just turning 50, and she knew she wasn't going to see the field much, but she said, when I was younger, I knew I always wanted to play football, and so her son actually taught her how to play so she could join the team, just so she could kind of fulfill that dream of playing football.
Well, that's part of what makes the game so beautiful, is it's inclusive and it's meant to be loved, and it is for everyone, and it transcends all of these barriers that society can impose, whether that's race, religion, gender, where you come from, and that's what really helps it, unify people. So I want to take a couple steps back to the onset of your journey in coaching. You played 4 sports in college, which I can't imagine doing because I wasn't a college athlete, but I trained like I felt like I was a college athlete. Didn't take a lot of hours, graduate early. It's a lot on your plate, but to do 4 sports is incredible. So you played basketball, graduated, and then applied for a coaching internship, and you were denied because of your sexual orientation. And I read they told you it wasn't personal, but that had to feel very personal. How did you handle that and persevere past it?
Yeah, at the time, so it was a college that was a Mennonite college, and that's my upbringing is Mennonite. And at the time, you couldn't even be a professor and be out if you were gay. It was kind of a don't ask, don't tell type of situation. And so, when I had that conversation with my coach, where I had been a captain, he knew my goal was to be a coach someday like my dad. And to go in and know that they needed help. They did not have a lot of money that really was geared towards athletics. And I knew they needed the help, and to hear those words that I no longer want you around the team because of your lifestyle, and it's nothing personal. I remember thinking, first of all, I was trying to tell myself, don't cry. And I was fighting anger and sadness, and I felt as if my coaching career ended really before it even began. But looking back, that moment really brought me to where I am. And there's so many different ways, and I think we all experience these different things in life, and we can look at them in different aspects, and we can look at that, we can create our own narrative. And for me, if I would have accepted, or if they would have allowed me to accept a job there, I probably would be somewhere coaching basketball, the second sport that I loved. But being turned down, it allowed me to open my eyes to different opportunities and really look outside the box and try to figure out what was next for me. And it's what put me on a path to being where I am today. And so in a way, maybe there's a day that I might actually have to write a thank you note and to my coach, which some people might think is crazy. And I know that, we all have different beliefs, and I think we all are just trying to do the best we can to find happiness. And so I don't hold a grudge against him. I'm just thankful that the school has become more accepting now, and that doesn't have to happen for anyone else.
Well, that speaks volumes of you as a person and your heart to forgive others and move past things and have a glass half full mentality. And I'm a believer that everything in life happens for a reason. And so what I have also learned is you ended up coaching a 5th grade girls basketball team after that turned down with Mia Pioli on it, whose father was Scott Pioli, the Chiefs general manager at the time. Tell me about how that introduction to Scott led you to where you are now.
See, this is another situation in my life that plans didn't go according to what I thought they would be. And I say that I was actually meant to coach the 6th grade team. And it was all set up. I actually got one of my friends to coach. She was supposed to coach the 5th grade team. And I remember the sports director calling me, and she was so sorry. She said, I messed up the scheduling. I accidentally put you with the 5th grade team. Is that okay? And I remember I didn't know the difference between a 6th grade girl and a 5th grade girl. I mean, to me, it was all the same. And so I said, yeah, that's fine. I don't mind, coaching 5th graders. And it just so happened that Mia was on that team, and I didn't know the impact that would have. And for me, I was just trying to be the best coach I could be every single day, whatever job it was that I was doing. And you never know when you're going to make a connection that's going to change your course. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was meeting Scott, and Scott, got to know me, got to know my background, my love for football, my love for coaching. And, it wasn't until a couple years after actually meeting Scott where the doors kind of opened to that internship in Atlanta where my NFL career began.
What was it like that first day when you walked into those doors? What was running through your mind?
I remember I continued to think, is this real? Is someone punking me right now? Is someone going to say, we're just kidding? And I remember there was a female athletic trainer who was an intern, and that was even very rare for them. That was the first, female athletic trainer they had ever had. So having a woman around as a coach was something unheard of. And I remember wondering how the players would react, wondering how the coaches would react. And what I found was these were a bunch of people who were professionals at their job, and they were there to win games, to become the best version of themselves. Mm-hmm. And especially the players. I remember every August 7th is my birthday, and so now it's training
Happy
camp.
Early birthday.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to be old enough to be president. So
oh my goodness.
Watch out,
Katie
world.
For president.
That clicked just a couple of days ago.
Wow.
But I remember my 30th birthday, Julio Jones got me a cake for my birthday and just kind of surprised me with it. Equipment manager walked in, and not only was that just really cool to have one of the best in the game give me a birthday cake, but the show of respect for, little old intern that really was so new to this game, and for him to show the respect like that and what that showed to the other players, and it's something I will never forget.
Well, that's really incredible. And I think it's just that sense of, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a male or female. If you are the best at what you do and you're the most qualified for that position, then it should absolutely be yours. Well, who has been the greatest role model in your life and or inspired you to want to be a coach in the NFL?
I'm gonna go back to a cliche answer and say my parents. And really that it stems from early on when it was, this idea of how important happiness is. They taught me money won't do it. Your environment, the city you live in, that's not really gonna be it. It's gonna be, who you're around, who the people, do they love you, do they care about you, and are you happy? And my mom always used this Dr. Phil quote where she said, a mother is only as happy as her saddest child. Mm-hmm. And that always, it always meant something to me to just hear that and to know how important my happiness was. And I knew that I had to search for my happiness. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that I've inspired to be. And I've always said if I can be half of as good of a person as my parents, then I will find that I will have found success. And so that's what I strive for every day.
How do you define success? Happiness or achieving a certain end goal?
I believe it's how many lives you impact rather than being a headline, rather than the spotlight. It's where do you truly believe that you feel fulfilled? When you wake up in the morning, what's getting you up? And that's your why. And when you can put your why with what it is that you're doing, to me, that's success.
Well, that leads me to my next question, which is, what is the most difficult obstacle you've had to overcome in your career?
When it comes to obstacles, I think regardless of how high you get in your career status, we continue to have obstacles. And for me, I think the hardest obstacle has been that inner critic that we all have, that idea of, am I good enough? Am I going to make it? What are people thinking of me? And it's made me stronger actually reflecting back on that, because you realize that when you look around, you're seeing everyone's highlight reel, and everyone's highlight reel is not truly their inner critic, and you start to think you're the only one that has that. But when you realize that every single person you're around is fighting some sort of battle, it makes you a more compassionate person, and it makes you really better at what you do.
Compassion is the key to really having that empathy and understanding that, social media can sometimes cloud, because as you mentioned, it is a highlight reel. And one of the best pieces of advice my mom has given me is comparison is the bullet train to discontent, and no two journeys look alike. So whatever path you're on is the one you are uniquely meant to be on, not, what someone else's looks like or what you think yours should even look like.
I love that.
What is your favorite quote?
When it comes to my job, my favorite quote is very simple. It's do your job. And there's more to it. It's this idea of no job is too big or too small for you. And when you do your part and you're not looking too far ahead, you're not looking at what you've done in the past, you're not comparing it, you're just doing your job and being the best version of yourself. It's what translates really to success. And so do your job, that's my favorite quote.
Mm-hmm. I also read you like just do it, and I like just do it too.
Just do it.
Just do it.
There's so many, and I have quotes on my arm, and I think quotes are a great reminder of not only things that other people have said so eloquently, but just reminders of how to live our life.
Exactly. You started journaling at a young age, and I journal too, and I think it's an excellent tool for self-reflection and growth and gratitude. And in that journal, you wrote a lot about football. Do you ever think you will publish a book that includes some of that journaling? And if so, what will be the title?
So I do plan on having a book someday. It's been something that's, I've thought about a lot. And I actually do think I have a name for it. Don't Assume She Likes Pink. And it's going to talk a lot about just my experiences throughout my life, and this idea of, not only, the deeper meaning of the impact that stereotypes can have on people, and the barriers and the walls that it can create for people to attain their dream. And so I look forward to doing that.
Well, I look forward to reading it, so please put me on the early release list. I'm just so thankful to have had the opportunity to sit down and have this discussion with you. I'm so excited for this movement towards equality in women's sports, both in how they are viewed and supported, and I know you all are too. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to watch your journey as you continue to break barriers through sports.
I am so happy to have this conversation, and go Chiefs.
Thank you. Go Chiefs.